Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. If you haven't noticed, I did revert my YouTube as well as my Twitch back to my old gamer tag of Infamous. Felt it was a little bit more Twitch friendly. With that said, coming back with MagDK light armor. So this is my light armor build that I've been running on live. It's nothing special. It's pretty an old set that I had been using a while back. It's basically 5 rattle cage, reinforced on the chest, impen, and burning spell weave. Of course, burning spell weave is there for the buff on the back bar. So I'm running, like I said, 1 reinforced chest. I always reinforce my chest for the maximum amount of spell and physical resistance. And then of course 1 Kina, 1 Dama House. This is a 5 light, 2 heavy setup. This is an old setup, ran this for a long time on and off. I do also run a heavy armor, link will be at the top. For those looking for battleground builds, be sure to check out Battle of the Build. I'll be posting a lot of tips as well as a lot of my builds are going to be on Battle of the Build. It's basically a collection of many of the different types of builds that I run and do run. Whether you're looking for a support build, or if you're looking for a Magicka DPS, Magicka tank, Magicka support, or if you're looking for either a stam DPS, stam tank, or a stam support, even hybrid. Posting all of my builds there. You'll find my PvP clips still on YouTube. My build videos will be on Battle of the Build, basically to make it easy for people to find a collection of builds designed for Battleground. Like I said, with that said, I'm using the 1 Kina, 1 Dama House with impen, and then of course I'm running 1 sturdy on the body, and then of course 1 sturdy on the shield. You can run on the front bar. I'm running willpower. We are running sharpened. Sharpened is best in slot for more damage. It's if you want to eke out every little bit of damage, sharpened, even with the 20% to Nernhold from running major sorcery, sharpened will still be slightly stronger, which is why for the Mundus we went with the lover. This should actually be the lover. You can go either the lover or you can go for the increase in damage with the apprentice. The off balance there, the extra damage, as you can see, are a total of 8,000 so effective spell power, and that's literally because of the 10% that we get from engulfing. A lot of people underestimate that 10%. That 10% increases your overall effective spell power. So if you're sitting at a 7,000 effective spell power and then you use engulfing, that is literally around 700 extra spell damage that you are adding to your kit. People just don't understand, the higher your effective spell damage, the better engulfing, the extra 10% to flame damage becomes. So when you start adding CP and you start increasing your max magicka, you increase your overall effective spell damage. With that said, is why I run a shot glyph on my front bar, and that's basically to proc concussion. Concussion will give you an extra 8% damage to all of your attacks, and so this is reflective in this build. Like I said, this is a light armor build. We're running just shy of 30%. We're running 6200%, 6200 in spell pen. Of course, that's from the pen from light as well as the pen from running sharpened. You could run Nernhold if you wanted. I actually chose to run sharpened because the only abilities that would be affected would be your coag and your cauterize. The Ember's heal will still do more damage because it's based on the damage, and of course sharpened will do more damage than Nernhold, especially with a lot of people running a lot of tanky builds. So you're trying to gain as much pen as possible. Of course, going sword and board. I enjoy sword and board when I'm running light because it gives you the very tankiness that you need and being able to soak up a lot of damage. DK gets a passive right here. Excuse me. Or Draconic, here we go. Iron Skin increases the amount of damage that you can block by 10%, which is why for this patch and for next patch I will be going Sword and Shield, especially because of the changes next patch to reflective plate. So you're no longer going to be able to reflect projectiles. Instead, those projectiles will be reduced by 50%, and of course while you're running Sword and Shield you'll also gain a lot of reduction. Base block is 50%, and then of course whenever you're running a Sword and Shield you gain deflect bolts, which of course gives you an additional 14% reduction to ranged attacks, and then whatever is remaining of course will be reduced by reflective plate next patch by an additional 50%. So that's a lot of damage reduction. The primary reason I switched back to running light armor was one, just for the damage, as well as reverting back to Sword and Shield. Next patch you're going to be subject much more to ranged CCs, and that's because currently when you use reflective plate and maybe you're surrounded by a lot of magic builds, or you're trying to find some light of sight, reflective plate currently is really good because it will reflect a lot of the ranged crowd control, or other ranged CCs from like fire wheel, or from shock bolt, or getting stunned from snipe from stealth, or javelin, etc. Next patch, we're losing the ability to reflect all of these things, so I decided to revert back to Sword and Shield, and of course that's for blocking, so that it limits the amount of crowd control, especially as a DK with the lack of mobility. That's why I reverted back to Sword and Shield, and that's basically to block a lot of the incoming crowd controls, because I know I'll be losing the way wings work, and so I'm basically preparing for that for next patch. Of course, I'm running Ramp Embers. You can see the whip tooltip fully buffed up. We're running about 4,000 spell damage fully buffed up. We're at 8,400. Our Coag is going to get buffed next patch by an additional 20%, so we're sitting just shy of 7,800. Again, I always say that Coag is such an expensive heal. You may think, oh, it's not that bad for no CP. My no CP on my Templar, my Honor the Dead, is almost 11,000, just so that you can get an idea of my fully buffed, and I'm running only 3,300 spell damage on my Templar, just so you can get an idea of how much stronger Honor the Dead is compared to Coagulating Blood. And of course, Coagulating Blood does get a little bit of a benefit. The lower your HP, it increases the healing by up to 33% of your missing HP, but that also gets cut in half in Cyrodiil. And of course you gain Major Fortitude, which is useless because if you use an HP pot, anything that has HP, you get the exact same buff. I switched over from Fossilize to Shattering Rocks. The reason being is because typically everybody dodge rolls anyway. When you fossilize somebody and then you hit them with a lash, and of course your next ability is going to be a power lash, typically most people dodge. And since I'm running talons on the back bar, I don't need the extra root from fossilize. I actually wanted to go Shattering Rocks, and I use that for the heal. As you see there, when the target turns around, you gain an additional 7,500 in HP. The reason I went that route is because Coag is so expensive, right? Literally, it's a 7,800 heal that gets cut in half, so that's 3,400 for the cost of 3,500 magic. That's why I say Coag is a terrible heal, but this of course works much better than using, for example, Inhale. Inhale is a shitty heal. If you think Coag sucks, like Inhale, the heal is even worse. So options are limited, and of course for a For Sword and Shield, because I can block a lot of incoming damage, so I will typically wait till I get pretty close to execute range before I will use it. I'll either spam Embers, wait for a CC into a Power Lash for my main heal, of course, or Cauterize on the back bar. Again, 5700 on that tooltip. Of course, we're running Volatile. The reason we're running the buffs on the back bar is because that's where Burning Spell Weave, and I decided to run Charged on the back bar. Of course, this increases the chance to apply status effects, and the status effect that I'm looking to apply is the burning passive for extra dot damage. And of course, because I'm running 2 dots on the back bar, so if someone gap closes to me, I will swipe and immediately bar swap, and then I will talons into an engulfing. I'll typically do that, especially if I see multiple players. I will kind of push in and talons everybody, and of course that's to try to proc the burning status effect to gain the burning spell weave buff, but also because it does extra damage, I'm trying to apply, like I said, the burning passive dot, and that's why I went charged on the back bar. And of course I am running a weapon glyph on the back bar, and like I said, running shock on the front. In terms of the glyphs here, I'm running 1 spell damage and then 2 reduced costs. And then of course I've got leap, and I will either use shooting star. You can use standard of might. Standard works pretty well. And then of course I'm running tri-stat food, and of course this is the regen with a tripod up. 700 magicka, and this is pretty good. I typically don't hold my leap. As soon as I have it, I use it because of Battle Roar. If you hold your leap, unless you're literally about to get a kill, the longer you hold your leap, the more diminishing returns that you will get from Battle Roar. Battle Roar is based on the cost of the ultimate, not the amount of ultimate that you have when you use your ultimate. So if you have 125 vault and you wait till 150, you've just wasted that 25 vault, which means you're getting diminishing returns from Battle Roar. That's why literally, unless you're about to secure a kill and you're waiting for like an extra second, I use my ultimate, unless I'm going to save for a more expensive ultimate. So I typically will run either I will run leap on the front bar, and I'll either run standard or I will run shooting star, so that I can shooting star into a engulfing, shooting star into a shattering rocks for the CC, and then of course the double whip proc. I will not be switching to the other morph of Flame Lash. I find that next patch it is not the best option, even unless you're just straight a dueler. Flame Lash will still be your best option, especially if you're in open world Citadel, or if you're doing Battlegrounds, because you're just gonna miss out on a lot of healing. I do not recommend running it. You will lose to a DK running Power Lash. 2 DKs running the exact same skills, running the exact same gear with the same skill, with the same skill level, you will lose to someone using Flame Lash, because one, the Flame Lash is going to do more damage, and second, over the course of a fight, the Flame Lash will do more damage, and you will end up running dry because of having to consistently spam things like engulfing and of course burning embers. The DK running Flame Lash over Molten Whip will be able to out damage you over the course of a fight, and he will out heal you, and he will out sustain you. And I explained why in this video that'll be linked at the top. This build will be played tonight. I will be doing some BGs, and I'm going to be doing some light armor DK, and of course my race is Dark Elf. Dark Elf is still best in slot, although you could go with something like High Elf if you enjoy running MagDK primarily in heavy armor. Then I would probably go with either Breton would be a really good option because of the reduction. But if you're looking to eke out as much damage, then Dark Elf is still the way to go, and that's because you gain more spell damage here, and then of course you gain the fire resist, and then of course you also gain the burning status resistance, so that gives you a little bit less damage taken from people who are running either Flame Stash, Flame Staff, or like Fire Wheel with a dot, or another DK who's running basically dots, and of course the extra 1875 to your magic and stamina. This is, like I said, this is a light build. Feel free to hit me up on Twitch. My gamer tag is Infamous with an extra S and then NYC. Link will be in the description. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Twitch, and of course, be sure to check out Battle of the Build for all of your Battleground build needs. Thank you, and God bless.